Hey guys, so I'm going to do another one of my What's My Shade or Find Your Shade videos for the Urban Decay All-Nighter Foundation. I've done one of these for the Clinique, I think it's called the Beyond Perfecting Foundation, and another one for uh, the newest, I think, Becca Foundation. So I'll link those below if you haven't seen those. But anyway, this is the newest Urban Decay foundation. You can see this is the Sephora website that I've taken a screenshot of. It's $40 for 1 ounce, and you can see the shade range here. And this has a numbering system, and then it does provide a little bit of an explanation in terms of what the shade is and what the undertones are. So this is more information about the foundation. It's supposed to be a full coverage matte finish waterproof foundation that lasts all night. And if you want to read this, you can either pause or just take a look at it on the Sephora website. And this is more information how to use it. It says it's high coverage. Let's see, has the ingredients down here. This is for shade number 4, so it may vary a little bit from shade to shade. Okay, so this is the shade range. You can see there are 24 shades, and they range from 0.5, which is a cool undertone. Basically, any of the foundations that have subtle pink, I labeled as cool. The shades that have soft warm are warm, and then there's some here that have, I think only one actually, that has a neutral undertone. And then some have golden undertones, and I marked those as warm as well. So this gives you some idea of what your shade may be, but it's still perhaps not as user-friendly as it could be. So this is the I guess, chart that Urban Decay has created. And this is just the first page. They have all of the shades listed. But if you do know your shade in an existing Urban Decay foundation, you might be able to just kind of equate it to the newest shade. This has the Naked Skin Weightless foundation and the Urban Decay All-Nighter foundation kind of as equivalents. I did do some research into that, and I don't believe they're exact shade equivalents. I can explain that a little bit further on, but this is kind of what Urban Decay gives you to find your shade. So in my opinion, a better way to find your shade is to use the Pantone Sephora system, which basically has a variety of different shade options here, and they identify different foundations and map them onto this grid for you. So to explain that a little bit more, I've drawn this line here that basically separates the warmer tone shades on this side from the cooler tone shades on this side, and then obviously the lighter shades are up here and the darker shades are down here. And just to kind of show you how this system works, I've called out this shade here, which is 3Y04. And that basically means that it's 3Y, so it's the third row from the center here. So it's, in terms of how warm it is, it goes from 1 to 5. So it's kind of a mid-range warm tone foundation. And it's also, the second part here, it says 04, so it's 4 down from the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes from a minimum of 1 down to 15. And you can see that there isn't like a shade here, so it's not a perfect grid. It's, you know, kind of oddly shaped, and I don't know exactly why they chose to do it that way. If they just found that there weren't any foundations really that were like this dark and this warm, or this light and this warm, for example, or I'm sorry, this cool. So that's basically what we have to go with. So I'm sure you're thinking, that's great, but how do I identify which of those Pantone shades I am? And one of the easiest ways to do that, you go into the Sephora homepage here, and there's this link under makeup that says Color IQ Get Matched. And it kind of describes what the Color IQ system is. If you hit See the Shade Library, that pulls up that chart that I showed you. And explains how it works. So if you go into a Sephora store, they have a device like this, and they basically hold it up to your face without any foundation on, and they put it on 3 different locations to try and get your best shade match. So that's one way you can do it. Or if you don't have a shade already, you can click on a foundation, a brand first. So let's say, let's go to Urban Decay. And say that I already wear the Naked Skin Weightless Ultra Definition. So shade 0.5, say that that's my shade. I feel like that's a good match. You click on that and it gives you the shade 2Y02 for shade 0.5 in the Naked Skin foundation. And then it provides all the different foundations that they've sort of already mapped that matched to that shade. And this isn't necessarily every single foundation that Sephora carries. Some of the newer foundations, for example, take a little while to make it onto this system, but it does provide you a range of different products, different formulas, etc., that you may be interested in. And for example, if you're interested in a concealer, instead of getting your exact match, say you want to go one shade lighter, you have the option to do that as well. Or if, for example, there isn't the product that you want to try out in your exact shade match, you can look to one shade lighter or perhaps one shade darker to give you some more options. Or if you just know that you were mapped in store, like if your winter shade is, 2Y02, but you want to go a little darker in the summer, you could try that as well. All right, so getting back to the PowerPoint here, these are all the shades circled from that Urban Decay chart I showed you. And for example, here 0.5 is 1Y03, and I believe I said it was 2Y02 in the Naked Skin. So you can see that even though it's the same number, it may not actually be the same shade. And I also put the undertone in parentheses here, so you can see that what they identify as the undertone may not be the best representation of what that undertone actually is. I kind of give them a pass for the shades either 1Y or 1R because there isn't a perfectly neutral shade range. It's either slightly on the warmer side or slightly on the cooler side. So you can kind of keep that in mind in terms of how neutral the foundation shade is. If it's closer to this line, it's more on the neutral side. But so I'll just keep clicking here. Once all these blocks are in, it kind of gets a little messy, but the more shades there are, the more complicated it gets. So you can kind of see also when you look at this kind of where the shades are clustered and whether there's more shades on the warmer side or the cooler side or the lighter side or the darker side. So the main reason I go to the trouble of creating a chart like this is that the Sephora website will show you one shade lighter or one shade darker for whatever shade you put in, but it won't show you one shade warmer or one shade cooler. And depending on where you are on a grid like this, the cooler or warmer option may be your best bet. So if you are, for example, 1Y08, which is right here, there isn't the option of one shade lighter or one shade darker. There's the option of 2 shades darker, but you wouldn't even see this 1Y10 shade unless you put in 1Y09. So if you are just looking at 1Y08, there are options at 2 shades more cool toned and 2 shades more warm toned. And there's also the option here, which is diagonal to 1Y08, and that is 1 shade lighter and 1 shade more warm toned. So that may be the best option for you depending on how full coverage the foundation is, whether it's your winter shade or summer shade, or how heavily you go in with the bronzer. So I think looking at the complete shade layout on a grid like this really helps you determine what may be the best option if there isn't an exact shade match. I also like doing this if Sephora has a deluxe gift with purchase that's a foundation. Typically they'll only have maybe 4 shades available, so the odds of you finding your exact match in a sample like that are not as great, but maybe you can get within a shade or two of your match. So this is the same chart, and instead of having the callouts, I just included the number directly on the shade if that's more helpful to you. And here's that same chart from earlier with those numbers included. Again, just trying to make it as easy for you to see as possible. So I also did this cool warm distribution chart where you can see that right here is the neutral point, so you can see there's a lot of shades that are 1Y, so more neutral but slightly on the warm side, and then overall more shades on the warm side, but there are quite a few over here as well. And that is the neutral line. Alright, and here's that same kind of idea, the light-dark distribution. This is a pretty even distribution in my opinion. You can see there aren't any of the super light shades. There's no 15 either. Number 9 is mysteriously vacant, but on the whole I think there's a pretty good range of shades here. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have any requests for other foundations for me to do this sort of video on, I would be happy to take those requests. So just leave a comment below and I'll try and get to those. So thank you again, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.